Okay, it is 5:30. We will call to order the Tuesday, April 11th, 2023 meeting of the Albany School Board. We'll start with item 1 as a call to order. Present is myself, present chair of the board, Dan Bianchino, vice chair, and Curtis Coleman, superintendent of schools, SAU 9, Kevin Richard. Item 2 on the board is the reorganization of the board. 2A, elect a chairperson. Do we have any nominations for election of a chairperson?
I'll nominate Tim Sorgi.
I'll second.
Okay, do we have any other nominations?
I'll nominate Dan as the vice chair.
That's next.
You're jumping.
Just need to get it going.
Are you going to get back to practice? Is this double sessions? Okay, hearing no other nominations, do we have a motion to elect Tim Sorgi as chair?
I'll make a motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will abstain out of common decency. Item 2B, election of a vice chairperson. Do we have a nomination for vice chair?
I'll nominate Dan to be the vice chair.
I will second that nomination as well. Any other nominations for vice chair? Hearing none, a motion to vote on Dan Bianchino as vice
I'll
chairperson.
make a motion for Dan.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will abstain for, what is
Oh
it?
my
Common
God.
decency.
Common decency.
Humble pie.
Okay, item 2C is to set meeting dates and times. Is that for the year going forward, or is that just for the next one?
No, for the year moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
So typically we are second Tuesday of every other month. We do have a meeting scheduled for June 13th, 2023. And then I believe we start up in September again, Kevin?
Yeah, unless there's a
Okay.
need.
Okay. Item 3 is approval of the minutes from February 14th, 2023. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Second on that? I will second that. And any comments, discussions on the minutes of February 14th? Hearing none, a vote on approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 4, any public comment? No public. Any board member comment? Hearing none. Item 5 is the signing of the checks and the manifest. It's already been taken care of. Item 6, business affairs. There's an FYI on the program assurances for federal formula grants. Is that part of the packet that we received?
You received 2 sets. One is the program assurances and then the general assurances. Basically, it says if we accept any federal dollars, that we have to abide by all of the federal guidelines going out to bid, non-discrimination, all those pieces related to it. Really, you get some Title I monies and then IDEA. So Title I is because of the free and reduced hot lunch population, and the IDEA is for special education. Not a big amount of money, but you also get like ESSER grants, the CARE funds, and we'll talk a little bit more about where those are. But it's really anytime you take those federal monies or state monies, you need to follow the guidelines.
Very good. 6B is general assurances, requirements, and definitions for participation in federal programs.
Yeah, same
Same
sort of
thing.
But we would need a motion to accept those.
So do we have a motion to accept the program assurances for federal formula grants as well as general assurances, requirements, and definitions for participation in the federal programs?
I'll make a motion to
I'll
accept.
second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Item 7 is the superintendent's report.
Yeah, just have a few things for you folks and for the folks watching on TV. On the SAU 9 website, there's what's called the 603 Bright Future Survey. And that's through the New Hampshire Education Department. It's for parents, it's for staff members, and for community members. It takes about 15 minutes, but it asks a series of questions regarding schools and and your relationship with the schools and things that we can do better and recognize the things that we do well. So I encourage folks to fill those things out.
Excellent.
We have the 2023 Mount Washington Valley Youth STEM Expo. So years ago there was the science fair, and with COVID and all that stuff, and Economic Council kind of backed out of that. So Katie Wilson's been working with Emily Calderwood from the Bartlett School Board to bring it back. It's for grades 6 through 12 students. And that will be at the Living Shores Aquarium up right next door to Storyland. So all day long, they are looking for judges. So if you're interested, or some of the projects are really good, and it's during the school day. So if you're interested, do that. School to career camps, those are for grades 7, 8, and 9 students. I know Curtis and Coleman's donates a lot of in-kind services to the construction camp. Those are week-long courses. They have the culinary camp, the STEM aviation camp, health camp, outdoor recreation camp, photography camp, robotics, STEM, Mars camp. Joe Riddensdale's done a nice job of that. It's been going on for a number of years. Registration is open, and it's free cost for everybody. So we've been using a lot of federal dollars for that as well. So and thanks to all the community. There is, like I said, a ton of in-kind monies and donations that take place, and the kids really, they get some good experience and keeps them busy for the summer, and the price is right. We're meeting with the emergency services in Conway Police Department to continue our school safety planning. We're actually meeting with them tomorrow to kind of refine and go over some parts of the emergency operations plans for school safety. Good news, Jim Hill locked in some fuel costs for the Conway School District. He had budgeted $4.50 a gallon, not knowing, and Jim does a really good job of kind of watching those things locked in at $3.06. So it's a reduction in the amount by about $140,000. So that's a good piece. Katie Wilson continues to write grants like crazy. She's brought in a lot of money. There's one through the New Hampshire Ed Department on literacy. And for Conway, it's about $60,000 worth of materials, supplies, trainings, and those type of things. Update for you folks, Albany, we had ESSER funds and ESSER 2. And Albany, we used all of the money for tutoring for Albany students. So that's a good thing.
That's awesome.
Now we're tapping into the Conway monies as well for those students. We also have money in what's called ESSER 3, which goes until September of next year. You have about $4,500, and we send out, that's to cover like camps for kids that in the summertime, vacation week, continued tutoring. So those are available. So we're working on that. And the last thing I have is an SAU 9 meeting on May 11th. That'll be the reorganization meeting of the SAU 9. 6 o'clock meeting, and then an executive board meeting at 5:30. So if you can make that, you'll be notified with that, but that'll be a pretty big meeting. Other than that, last night they recognized a number of students, or 37 students who qualified as scholar athletes by the NHIAA. That means they play multiple sports and have GPAs over 3.5, and nice celebration. Career Tech students were recognized last night as well. Each spring, each one of the programs has what's called a skills team. So for example, they have the automotive skills team, culinary, and they go down and they compete for a whole day. It's really a great experience. I was able to bring students there when I was teaching. They compete against other students throughout the state of New Hampshire. And then we had a number of students qualify for the national competitions. So some really good stuff going on.
That's excellent.
And that's really it for me.
Where would that take place?
Which part?
The last one where the kids were competing, the culinary and the...
So they end up doing it at different locations. So
Okay.
like machine tool, they end up going to one of the community colleges for machining that has, 18 lathes and CNC machines, culinary arts. At one time they did it all at Pease Air Force Base. That was before, that was when I was at 9/11. And they had everybody, you'd go down and they'd ship in, 30 stoves for kids for culinary. And then you'd have the drafting all roped off. And it was really neat. You'd have hundreds of kids competing. Pretty tough competitions too, which is, but now like DECA marketing, business, FBLA, they'll usually go down to like Manchester in one of the big hotels because hundreds of kids and they'll do, so it's kind of spread out all over the
What can
place.
they win? What do they, just recognition or?
No. I mean, they can get scholarships for schooling. We had a top welder in the state for 3 years in a row, and by the end, that kid had a TIG welder, a MIG welder. He had, and then he got a full ride to the community colleges as well. So
Good.
it's it's a good experience. I always said it's great to have a state champion, but I'd rather bring 4 kids and have them finish in the top 10. And so there's some good opportunities for the kids. And like I said, they'll travel to like Louisville, Kentucky is where the nationals are for some of these events, and that's a huge deal. And kids get recruited from those
Sure.
organizations.
Oh, and it's good to see that, there's recognition being given out and acknowledged in non-athletic activities as well.
absolutely, yeah.
More stuff that's career-oriented.
Well, and you'll see, years ago, back when I was in high school, vocational education was a place where,
Yeah.
the kids who didn't, and then it really flipped in like the, and even in Massachusetts, you saw that, right? So you had all these vocational schools, Lexington Tech and the Shore Valley, all those places. And they became very popular because they started to raise the bar to the point where you had to apply to get into these programs, which is totally different. That's one of the nice things that we do have is the ability. So it's real easy for kids to, take the high academic courses in the AP Physics and Calc and still take machine tool and all of those pieces. So,
It's quite an opportunity.
It really is.
It's Kennett is one of the leaders in it, aren't they?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it has been for a number of years.
Yeah.
Well, kids can. I think we have 3 students who have their pilot's license now.
Yeah,
which
my
is-
son's talking about that.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
interesting.
It's just, and they get the what are called industry-related credentials, right? So, you can get certifications as much as like OSHA, safety courses
OSHA
to
10.
Pro Start for culinary, which means that you know your way around the kitchen for safety and sanitation. Automotive has different industry-related credentials. So, and then all the running start pieces. Kids can take college-level courses, get credits for those while they're in school. Saves a lot of money. So a lot of kids will get those credits.
Now, automotive, are they transitioning to electric vehicles?
They have one actually that it was another grant that was written. So if you were to go in there, I'm not sure the status of it right now, but it's like a $50,000 vehicle that
Sure.
comes in a kit. Put it
Just
together.
figure, I'm sure there's a market for electrician techs for electric vehicles. I mean, that's got to be a pretty lucrative career going in the future. I mean, you got to learn from it's totally different than than the previous.
Combustion motor, yeah.
I think any of these kids coming out, they know a trade and go into these tech schools, these year-long tech schools, they can come out and they can be making a great living at 19.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really amazing, and it wasn't always like that, and it wasn't, to me, the education system was a little late to get on board with it. They're more like, let's go to, try to Harvard or Boston College or Yale, but these kids that are hands-on kids, in which we need them, and they come out and they're just doing so well with so many things.
But
I think it's exciting.
That when the turning point took place was when I think a lot of the people that had attended these schools, the technical schools, went on to become very successful. They turned around and gave back to those schools and to the programs, and it fed it. And these kids now go in and they come out, and as Curtis said, they're making a good living early on.
On the cost of going to a 4-year school
Yeah.
is just,
My God.
and not to speak poorly. I mean, I have 4 kids. They went to 4-year schools, but they caught in at different points. State schools, for the most part, $60,000-$70,000 a year, and it's like going to a resort. A lot of times they're doing that, but yeah, it's a different world.
Yeah, I mean, and what are they getting at? What are their prospects of getting something out when they come out of it, as compared to going to the tech schools? I mean, looks like the pendulum has swung the other way. Unless you're very specific, you're going to. I am going to be a electrical engineer, with very specific type stuff. Then yeah, I can see that, but. I mean,
if you want to work for a hedge fund on Wall Street, well, you need to go to a certain school to be that, or a big lifetime law firm. But I can't really recall seeing an interview with someone at a professional level and saying, "Oh, wait, they went to UNH, and they went to Plymouth," and no, I mean, no employer thinks of that. So that,
right.
I mean, it's the great schools. And, so it's
yeah, absolutely. And like I said, really pushing they call them running start programs or the dual enrollment credits. If you can save a year worth of college, we have a lot of students who graduate in 3 years.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
But so
and you go to Plymouth State, so you get that. You go to Plymouth State, you can get a 4-year bachelor's degree and spend $65,000 doing it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Or you
that's
can
fantastic.
spend $150,000.
At least.
Or
250,
right?
So it's exciting, I think. I was the last SAU9 meeting when the career tech they talked about it. I think it was awesome. It was cool. I don't think you were there, Tim.
I
But
wasn't at the last one, no.
I wasn't counting, but it was it was a really good meeting because it was exciting for the kids. So,
Well, I mean, it's that. And that's just your base cost, because then there's a lot of other costs going to school too nowadays. I mean, it used to be when you were a student, you got a lot of freebies, like when I went to UNH, it was like, oh my God, you had the most opportunity to go and get discounts than any time in your life, probably, for cool things to do. But nowadays, I mean, gosh, you say you go to BU or something like that, probably the number one cost other than tuition is housing. I mean, it's like, what do they get for housing down there nowadays? I mean, it's
Housing up
astronomical.
Above tuition in a lot of schools. That's what the big cost is.
Yeah.
Is room and
Yeah.
board
And
versus the tuition. Yeah.
I mean, it was always kind of high, but now it's just out of sight.
All right, Kevin, anything else on the superintendent's report?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. The number 8, any other business? Appointment of a school district moderator. Is that just Ed Alcalay, but he serves by default?
Yeah. Well, you'd make a motion to appoint him as
I think it was brought to our attention there was something on the
we had a
ballot.
procedural issue.
So do we just have to formally
appoint him?
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to appoint Ed Alcalay as school moderator.
I'll second him.
Okay. Go ahead. You got it. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let's set the date for the next meeting, June 13th at 2023 at 5:30 p.m. Any public comment? Hearing none. No non-public session. We get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
At 5:49.